Environmental Cleaning. You can also go online and check them out, daltonenvironmentalcleaning.com. That's 1-877-325-8667. Take care of your home atmosphere by getting your ducts cleaned. Okay, so let's take a call from Gary in Hazel Park, who's been waiting patiently. Gary, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Gary, and thank you for your service, and good on your guest there for taking on the teacher who was spouting their anti-Trump stuff.
Yeah. Ash Hampton's with us, and he's one of the good guys. He's working hard to keep all our kids safe, and we all have to do that. Hold those teachers accountable.
Thank you for the kind words, Gary.
To my subject. There's an intentional misinformation and disinformation going on in the schools to keep all our citizens ignorant of what a republic is, a representative republic is. And the fact that we even have the government in our healthcare system at all is deplorable, because we're all supposed to be free men, walking free amongst our fellow citizens without the government dictating to us pretty much anything. As long as we pay our taxes and stay on the right side of the law, we should not have to deal with any government agency whatsoever. If we choose not to, we are supposed to be free. And people today, the kids, the snowflakes they call them, they don't understand what it is to be free because they haven't had the education or the experiences in the distant past, of course, which you have to read about in history to understand we are not slaves to the nation. The government works for us. They are supposed to do our bidding, like your guest said just a few minutes ago. And the fact that we're so far gone as a nation is really bad on us, that we allowed this to happen over the last century.
Yeah, well, in the end, we're at fault because we're the ones that allow Dingles to run for office for 80 years, right? We're the ones that allowed the Clintons to run roughshod through our government for decades, and the Bushes, and other politicians, right?
It's by design, though. I mean, this is completely by design. Read what Karl Marx wrote about. This is all by design. You cannot impose communism, or as we know it now today as progressivism, because it is the same, and I would argue always that it's, the same. Is that you must dumb down the population while segregating them. And we are segregated in every type of group there is. And I've talked about this a lot. We're gender and gender identity and rich and poor and white and black and red, blue, yellow, green. We are divided as much as we possibly could be. And this is all by design. Yeah, dumb down the population, divide us up, and then none of us know what we truly want. And then all of a sudden they can start imposing real will. And that's what they're doing. And the healthcare is just one step. You no longer have privacy once they're in your healthcare.
Yeah, it's divide and conquer strategy, and that's what they're doing. Yeah, it's crazy.
But if they go at you financially, they go at you spiritually, and they go at you morally, then they have you. Because they can introduce anything they want over you, and you will have no defenses against it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
This is why this last election was so important to us. The Second Amendment was truly on the line, and people don't really think how close it really was. But let's put a scenario into play here where Hillary Clinton won the White House, and she was the one appointing Supreme Court judges. And next thing you know, our whole Second Amendment is rethought of, and we no longer have the power to carry a weapon. That is our last defense against our own government, and that was the founders' design. We have to be able to protect ourselves, and that's how close we were to really losing true freedom in this country.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think that event of the election was as par as, let's say, the moon landing or the attack on Pearl Harbor. It was a significant event, and it will change the course of history.
Yeah, and this is what, Gary, one of the things that we cannot allow, and this is where, as you were talking, Trump is setting us up to the point where we have to help him. Now is not the time to sit back and say President Trump's going to handle it. We're the ones that have to call our individual congressmen and say, listen, that bill that Ryancare put out, that Ryancare bill, was garbage. Why aren't you working on Mitch McConnell? Put the pressure on the Senate to go nuclear and pass the bill that needs to be passed, not some Band-Aid, not some piece of garbage that he was throwing on us. Because that's what it was. It was Ryancare. And when so many people didn't like it on the Republican side, there's an issue with it.
And you know what? Let's be very, very honest here. If you were going to put a Band-Aid on it, this bill should have been presented as a Band-Aid. We talked about this a little bit during the break. If you're going to have a bill like this, the best thing you could have done is put an end date to it. It expires 2020. Now you're forcing the Republicans to get with Trump and to get a real bill together, but Americans are suffering. People like me have chosen not to have health insurance because it costs more than my mortgage. That's not fair to me. Somebody who works really hard and works 50, 60 hours a week should be able to have health care that's affordable. And it's not. So we need real relief for Americans now. That's where this bill could have came in. It could have been simply a Band-Aid because we realize that it's going to be a lot more to get rid of Obamacare, and it's going to take some time. But we need to give you relief now. So put an expiration date to this bill. While I'm not a big fan of the bill, I think that I would have been far more inclined to say thumbs up to this is just simple fix for now because it's going to take a lot more to get done. And that's what we want from our government is to start working and work together, and they're not doing that neither.
Yeah. Well, great. Go ahead, Gary.
One last thing. It seems to me, though, that Americans and maybe the West in general are kind of spoiled when it comes to health care because of modern technology. Now, we're all supposed to be generally 90% Christian country, and that means when you die, you go on to a better place. We should not be afraid of death. We shouldn't embrace it or go look for it. But the government is not supposed to keep us alive.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole other show into itself.
As I say, the government can now choose whether or not you live or die. Let's be very honest.
Right. All right. Great comments, Gary. Appreciate the call. Call again. Okay. Let's take a call from Joe in Wyandotte. Joe, welcome to the show.
Hey, 2 quick points before I get to what I wanted to call in. One, Ash needs to run for Trenton School Board and make a difference.
Oh, hey, there you
go. 2,
we'll see what happens.
Debbie Dingell, Jeff Jones running for Congress against Debbie. People need to go to whamradio.com, the community bulletin board, and check out Jeff Jones has a Trump First 100 Days Town Hall Forum / fundraiser tonight that they can attend. So come on out and discuss Trump's first 100 days and help Jeff Jones run against Debbie Dingell. It's just $15, pizza, sub, pops. We're going to have Patrick Kolbeck will be the MC moderator. Jeff Jones will represent the congressional viewpoint, and Dr. Rob Steele will be kind of representing the executive branch.
Great.
Discussing the first 100 days. But what I called for is I checked out thedailydrift.com, as we all should be doing. And
thanks for the plug, Joe.
To you about the article, the Governor's Commission rejects voters' judgment on more windmills, because if you and I don't discuss it, no one else in the state is going to have a clue about it going on. And this is, again, another thing, whereas the common sense of the voters, we knew we didn't need a gas tax increase. Rhino Rick shoved it down our throats again. Now Rhino Rick, again, with his liberal friends, are shoving more windmills on us, going to raise our electric rates, reduce our electric effectiveness.
Yeah. Well, here's my problem with windmills, Joe. I go up north a couple times this summer, and the last few times I've seen all these giant windmills not turning, right? And it's windy. And I finally found somebody who could give me a straight answer. I said, why are they not? We spent all that money. We built them. They're not turning. What's wrong? Are they broken already? No. He said they don't have the infrastructure to take the electricity from the windmills and get it to where it needs to be. And I thought to myself, who is the idiot that built a windmill to make electricity, but you have no way of moving that because the lines are substandard?
And this has happened in California, too. I used to, when I was in the military, I was stationed in 29 Palms, California. So the middle of the Mojave Desert, right? And you'd have to go down a hill, and you get down the hill, and all of a sudden you're in Palm Springs. And when you get towards Palm Springs, you've got thousands and thousands of windmills, and half of them wouldn't be turning. And so I asked a guy one day who I was talking to about it, and he said, oh, well, they've reached their quota for the day, so they turn off. How do you turn off free energy if it's supposed to work? They reach their quota. The batteries are full. But it's the same thing. What it is, the battery is full, and they have no way to displace the energy in it, so off it goes.
Yeah, so that's total insanity for me. I mean, if that's the case, stop spending all the money on a giant windmill and start putting smaller solar panels all over the place on top of telephone poles or wherever, and spread the energy out that way instead of sticking it up in the middle of Gaylord where there's not enough people to use the energy.
Right. How about we do this? How about we think of the idea that we do have a responsibility to think of green energy, but what we should be doing is focusing on the energy that we have here that works, make us energy independent. The money we're saving from paying other countries for foreign oil, we put into our research for green energy. And when the technology catches up with the idea, we start implementing it. I think we do need to have some forms of renewable green energy, but it's not there yet. Technology's not there yet. So quit shoving it down our throats and wasting billions and billions and billions of dollars on something that just is not there yet. It's not there.
Yeah. You had something else, Joe?
I think the best form of alternative are tidal generators. You could put them all up and down the Detroit River, around the Great Lakes. U of M has done great work on this. They run on the currents of the waters. They run 24 hours a day. They're always going. They're not killing eagles. They're not hurting the fish. They're producing extra energy, and if we're going to insist on wind and solar, what we could be doing instead of these ugly big windmills out in the middle of nowhere killing off eagles, we could be putting barrel drum mills along the freeways along with solar panels, collecting sun and wind, and in just even the wind from the cars as they go by would drive the the wind drums and generate power along our freeways instead of these big open fields where it's just a waste.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's thinking. I never thought about that, Joe. See?
Give your passengers something to look at while you're driving down the expressway, right?
We have the smartest listeners ever. All right, great call, Joe. I appreciate it.
Take care, my friend.
You too.
Love you.
Let's take a call from Dave in Whitmore Lake. Dave, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, Dave. What's up?
Hey, I really appreciate your show. And once I get my cold fusion technology down pat, you won't have to worry about any of that solar or wind power stuff, okay?
There you go. Yeah, eventually somebody's going to come up.
I'm not a real bright guy, but I just wanted to ask you a question about the healthcare stuff.
Okay.
So, because I've had VA benefits for a while, but if you just repealed Obamacare, wouldn't that just go back to the insurance companies?
Here's my thought, right?
I mean, why is the government even involved in it? And the thing is, as greedy as those insurance companies are, I think if you repealed it and said, hey, you're all on your own, they'd be sending out flyers and signing people left and right, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right, because here's the other thing. A lot of young people can't afford these high-priced golden Cadillac, that young people don't get sick. What they need is a catastrophic plan, right? Some plan that's going to cover them if they get hit by a car, if they got cancer, they break a leg, they're in an accident, whatever. That's what young people need. And it's got to be cheap enough that they'll actually pay it and buy it, right? And then older adults and people in between, you have to have more plans. And Obamacare said no to all those plans. It jammed it in and said real health care requires this, and this. Well, that's too expensive for most people. That's why you dropped yours.
Absolutely,
right?
It's why I dropped mine. And let's think.
Back to my question. Do you guys know that if we just repealed Obamacare and just said, hey, you're all on your own, wouldn't it go back to just the free market?
Yes, because all the insurance companies would then have 12 different plans that they would offer to anyone who could afford it. You can only afford $100 a month, here's your plan. If you can only afford $500 a month, here's your plan. Yes, that's exactly right, Dave.
And if you could buy from anybody in the country, the competition would be unbelievable, and prices would be low as could be. And when Donald Trump ran and said he was going to repeal Obamacare, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, I'm good.
I think that the problem ends up is the insurance companies themselves are greedy, and they don't want other companies coming into their state and where they control it. And then on the flip side of this, yes, it would go back to normal, right? And free market, and then we'd let the free market dictate. But the problem is perception. Once you allow the government to put their fingers into something, we all know they're going to mess it up, because that's what they do. That's what Washington was established for, I swear, is to mess everything up in your life.
That's why we need to get them totally out of everything.
Yeah, but the problem is perception. So now you're going to have the liberal left snowflake crybabies come back at you and say 26 million people are going to lose health care.
There's nothing we can say that'll make them like us.
But let's take it. Let's take it. Well, I agree with that who cares, because at the end of the day, we do need to do something. But let's take it away from health care and look at another scenario. Look at what they're doing with the EPA and the idea of cutting this revitalization of the Great Lakes. And, Trump's trying to hurt our economy. No, Trump's simply saying that the state of Michigan and states that are around the Great Lakes that share those borders should be doing their part to conserve the Great Lakes. But everybody's complaining about the massive cut he's making to the Great Lakes. At the end of the day, you have to make cuts. People are going to be hurt because of it, but that's the only way to get government out of your business. And when healthcare happens, now you're talking about serious problems, people dying, and the government's already involved. So it's very unlikely that the government's going to become less involved in that process.
And the real fact is this: these 14 or 26 million people would not necessarily lose their insurance because they'd be able